welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. The first topic we'll be covering is about the spring breakout games and a recap of what's going on there. The second segment is going to be about this top spring training performers so far into the spring and how that might affect their teams. Third segment will be putting MLB teams into tiers and where each MLB team ranks within themselves going into the year. And finally, we'll be talking about just some general news stories and news around the league. But before we do that, I would like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read on the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get straight into the first segment. So the first segment we will be talking about today is obviously the one I just talked about, which is going to be about the spring breakout games for MLB. Now, the spring breakout games are a new thing in baseball. It was just introduced this year. So basically, what it is that the top prospects of every team play each other in a game in spring training, and they just try to show off their talent to a lot of people who haven't really seen them or don't really know about them because they're prospects. And a lot of people don't really follow prospects that closely, or are their prospects of other teams, and they don't really follow prospects other than their own team. So personally, I think this is a great idea. I always thought it was. When they first introduced it, I was like, sounds great. Sounds like a pretty great idea to market players. I feel like prospects aren't as big of a part of MLB as they should be, and I think marketing them to more casual fans or fans who aren't big into prospects, I thought was a great idea, and I think it was one of the best ideas Manfred had really in his entire tenure. So when these started, I got really excited, and I'm still excited about it. I still think it's a great idea, and I still think it's something that I'm really looking forward to, not only for this year and what's going to keep going on with them, but after as well. So, let's talk about the first games we've had, which were yesterday, of course, and then we're also going to be talking about the games that are happening right now as I'm on live, and some games that should be happening over the weekend. So the first one is going to be about Cincinnati versus Texas. That was the first one. In the bottom of the first, we had Texas, and their prospect Cameron Cawley tripled, scoring other top prospect Sebastian Walcott to make it 1-0 Texas. We then, in the top of the second, had one of the Reds' top prospects, Cam Collier, hitting a home run to make it 2-1 Reds in the top of the second. Collier was the first-round pick of the Reds very recently, a guy who's not really found his way in the minor leagues so far. So it's nice to see him succeeding in this breakout game and against other prospects. And he was a guy who was really high of coming out of the draft, so I'm hoping that he can become a really good player and kind of get his stock back up to where it should be. After that, we have, again from the Reds, Carlos Sanchez in the top of the third, hitting a RBI double, scoring 2, and making it 4-1 Reds, which it would end up being the final score. For pitching performances for the Reds, for the Rangers, we're going to start off with them. We had Brock Porter, one of their top pitching prospect, I'd say. He went 1 inning, only gave up 1 hit, only 1 walk, and struck out 2. No runs, so that was really the big one for the Rangers. He had a nice outing. Guy we thought could potentially be traded in the Dylan Cease trade, and he's still there, obviously. So a guy I'm really high on for the future. I think a lot of Rangers fans are looking forward to him. So good job by him to keep it going and perform against these top prospects. For the Reds here for pitching, they had Rhett Lowder go 2 innings in relief. 2 innings in relief for the Reds, giving up no runs and no hits. I think that's really good for the Reds. It's a guy who was drafted very recently, a guy I think is going to be a top pitching prospect in that organization very, very soon, and I think is going to make big impact in the MLB fairly soon, fairly recent. And I think definitely he's a guy to look out for, and if I'm a Reds fan, I'd be really excited that he was doing well in these spring breakout games because, you're playing against other guys who are at your level, guys who are kind of in the same place you are. So the fact that he is succeeding against them is a good sign. Again, same with Brock Porter of the Rangers as well. So anytime you can be good in these games, I think is a really good thing. After that, we have Orioles Rangers, which was yesterday. Obviously, a big one because both teams are doing well in spring training. Both teams have arguably the top two prospects in baseball, which we'll talk about, of course. But first, let's go to the scoring. So, Jack Brannigan of the Pirates hit a sacrifice fly in the bottom of the first to score a run, making it 1-0 Pittsburgh. After that, we had Orioles prospect Judd Fabian, who was part of that young hitting core. One of the top guys there as well. So another guy who has been shining through. He also had a sacrifice fly to tie the game up 1-1. After that, a balk actually was scored from Garrett Forrester. He scored on that to make it 2-1 Pirates. And Mitch Jebb hit a sacrifice fly to make it 3-1 Pirates, where it would stay. And that was it for scoring with that game. Nothing else really happened. It was kind of not very exciting with hitting wise, but I think one thing you have to look at is pitching. It was very exciting pitching wise. You of course had Paul Skeens pitching for the Pirates, the first overall pick from this year. What is there to say about Paul Skeens that we haven't said already? Just an electric guy with one of the best fastballs in the minor leagues. I made a short about it last night as well, that he threw 6 100-mile-per-hour pitches to start off the game. So, he started off really, really well. And, if you're a Pirates fan, you have to be so excited about this guy. He's not making the MLB roster to start the year, but I think he's definitely going to come up toward the middle of the year, be a guy who really competes for this Pirates rotation. There's really no competition with him in there because they kind of are struggling in that regards with pitching. So, definitely a guy I'd look out for if you're a Pirates fan, of course. He's the first overall pick for a reason, one of the greatest pitching prospects of all time, one of the greatest college pitchers of all time. So, it's very exciting that he's doing well in the major leagues. And, definitely looking forward to him if I'm a Pirates fan. Other than that, we have the Orioles also pitching. We had Kate Popovich, one of their top prospects. Didn't do great. He went 3 innings, giving up an earned run and 2 walks. Not great, but I think he still has a ways to improve. This is a guy I think is one of the Orioles' top pitching prospects. Obviously, they don't have many top pitching prospects. It's mainly hitting based right now. So I think you really want this guy to improve and be better and be a big part of your future. So I definitely want to see better outings than that. But again, it's only spring training, and I wouldn't take it with a huge grain of salt. Yes, it's exciting if someone performs well, but if someone doesn't, I don't think you take it with such a huge deal. So, definitely not something to worry about. Right now, we have going on the bottom of the 6th, so the game's about to end. Marlins, Cardinals versus each other, their prospects. Just for a little summary so far, Victor Scott for the Cardinals walked to score on a run to make it 1-0 Cardinals. After that, we had Troy Johnston hit a single for the Marlins, making it 1-1. Griffin Conine homered to make it 2-1 Marlins. And after that, we had Griffin Conine again hitting an RBI for an RBI single to make it 3-1 Marlins right now. We'll see if anything else happens. But, that's what's going on with them right now. So, good job by the Cardinals' young prospects to get on the board there with Victor Scott's walk, get the bases loaded for that to happen. And good job by Griffin Conine and the Marlins prospects to get it going. We don't hear a lot about the Marlins hitting prospects, probably for a good reason. I'm not very high on them either, but, you always want them performing well. So, definitely a good job of the Marlins prospects there. Right now, we have the Mets and the Nationals game going on right now with their prospects. So far, we've had Ryan Clifford doubling in his former organizational mate Drew Gilbert to make it 1-0 Mets prospects. Obviously, both came over in the same trade with the Verlander trade, Clifford and Gilbert. So I'd say that trade's worked out pretty well for them. Gilbert and Clifford have both shined since coming to the Mets organization and become real good guys for the future for them. So, definitely a nice start by them. For the Nationals, you had TJ White doubling off pitcher Dom Hamill, who is one of the Mets' top prospects, who who's I'm really high on for the future, especially. So, good job by TJ White there to get a run in, and we'll probably keep you updated with what's going on there. and see if anything else notable happens in that game, which I'm sure it will. After that, we have Padres and Mariners at 4 o'clock. Obviously, Padres have a lot of prospects. It gets a little lighter right now considering they just traded for Dylan Cease. So you have to look at who they're going to play there and who does well to maybe improve those guys. But that's also going on. That's a notable game, I'd say. Mariners as well have a lot of good prospects, a lot of good hitting guys. So I definitely would look forward to that. White Sox and Cubs battle of Chicago there. That's something else I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of good prospects there in that game. I think both teams have relatively good farm systems. White Sox farm system's probably a lot better now with the Cease trade. I don't think those guys are going to be playing because it is very soon, but still a farm system to watch. After that, we have Battle of the Bay, which is you have Giants, A's. Not really that exciting of a game in my opinion. I don't think the A's or Giants have an outstanding farm system. I don't think either is bad necessarily, but I don't think either is like that amazing. So it's not something that's going to be totally up to my watching, but I don't think it's bad. Other than that, we have, let's see here. We have Mariners, Angels. That is also going on here. So definitely something to watch there. Hold on, sorry, my link there cut out a little bit, so I'm going to go on a different thing. But yeah, all these games are definitely really exciting in my opinion. Even the ones with the farm systems aren't that great. I'm still definitely going to watch them. So I think they're really exciting. Ignore what I said about Seattle and Los Angeles, by the way. That was wrong. I read that wrong. My apology. But, you have, the games I told you about. Chicago, versus each other. The Bay versus each other. San Francisco, Oakland. You also have, some games tomorrow, which I'm going to talk about most likely on the Monday show. We have a good amount of prospects facing each other. We have Atlanta, Boston. Two teams I think have okay farm systems, not that great. Actually, I would say Boston has a better farm system, actually. In a lot of ways, I think they have a lot of good guys like Cedeno Rafael, Kyle Teo, Marcelo Mayer. So those are guys I really like in their system. Braves aren't that good, but they're not. It's not horrible. They always find a way to make kind of mediocre guys become really good prospects. So definitely a nice game there. Philly, Detroit, kind of mediocre farm systems there. No one too notable to talk about. After that, you have New York, Toronto. Obviously, a lot of good prospects there. I'd say Toronto has a lot of good ones. New York definitely has a lot of good ones. So that's someone to watch. Tampa and Minnesota. Both have good prospects in their organization, I'd say. Both are pretty good. Nothing too notable there. And then, of course, Ohio, you have Cincinnati versus Cleveland, Arizona versus Colorado, and LA versus LA, and the Dodgers and Angels. All are notable games. And, of course, on Saturday, we'll be having the Dodgers versus the Kiwoom Heroes in Korea for a exhibition game, which would definitely be fun. We got a lot of these prospect games going on over the weekend. I'm definitely going to talk about them on the Monday show, assuming no crazy breaking news happens that day. So definitely going to be watching, and definitely we'll talk about it then. And I'm super excited to see what goes on with these prospects here. So we're going to take a break here, but after that, we're going to go to our second segment, which is going to be about the top spring performers so far. These are guys that have obviously done really well in the spring, and they maybe have a chance to make the roster now when they might not have had a great chance before. So definitely excited to talk about these guys and what's going on with them. So we'll talk to you after that. So thanks.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment. But before we go back to that, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. Subscribe if you can, donate if you can, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. Really does mean a lot. Really helps everyone here. You know, not just me, but all the great content creators on this channel, on this network. So, yeah, definitely something I would appreciate. But always, anyways, thank you for enjoying the content. And let's get back here to our second segment here of the show. And that is going to be about spring training, which I guess we've talked about in the first segment. Kind of different because it was kind of an iteration of spring training, you could say, with it being the spring breakout games. But this is the top spring training performers so far, in my opinion. It's around 10 guys, just guys that I thought deserves some notice about how well they were performing in spring training. And that, you know, they might have forced their way onto a roster, you know, and they might have not had a spot before. So yeah, definitely these guys I'm looking at right now as big performers in spring training so far, and definitely excited for them. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is David Bote of the Chicago Cubs. David Bote was a guy who came up, had a lot of promise, you know, signed a big extension with the Cubs right away. It was for like $25 million. It wasn't that big, but still kind of big for that time when you didn't really see people giving out huge prospect extensions that much. Kind of a super utility guy that he's kind of faded in the past few years. Not been that bad, just not really been a full everyday starter. So far in spring, he's tied for the lead with 5 home runs in all of spring training. All the stats, 1,091 OPS. He's done really, really well, as you can see. And I think it's interesting because the Cubs' real one main spot that they don't have someone is third base. I mean, they have some guys there. They have Christopher Morel. They have Nick Magical. Of course, they have Bote. They have Patrick Wisdom. But no real guys who were like running away with it at that third base position. I mean, Christopher Morel is probably the best player there out of the bunch. He's also younger, but his defense is kind of a question mark, and I think there's a lot of value in keeping him to a lot of different places, kind of as a Ben Zobrist type role, of course, who was with the Cubs as well. So I think there could be an opening for third base there, and I mean, if Bote keeps going with this, he could make it a real chance to win the third base position, and even not maybe just be on the opening day roster as a whole, and you know, as being a valuable bench guy. So definitely someone to watch if you're a Cubs fan, if you're a baseball fan. David Bote's done really, really well so far. And it's nice that he is, finding his groove again. I mentioned that Bote was tied with 5 homers with the lead for the most home runs in spring training. Well, the guy he's tied with is a guy we've talked about a few times over the past few days of the show, and that is O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz has 5 home runs for the Pirates, a 1.331 OPS, just absolutely crushing the baseball right now. Only in 24 at-bats he has these numbers, so it's pretty incredible. I mean, I feel like this guy was kind of forgotten with the Pirates. I mean, they've had so much young talent come up in the past few months or so with Tamar Johnson, with, of course, Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez, Paul Skeens getting drafted. I feel like Cruz has kind of not been shown as regularly because of the injury. He hasn't played in a little while. And when he was coming up, you know, people talked about him all day, every day, because of the physical tools he has, of how hard he was hitting the baseball. And I feel like they're not talking about him as much anymore. So he kind of maybe saw that, wanted to show people, hey, I'm still that guy. You know, I can still play really, really well. I can still be, you know, a big positive to this Pirates team, and a guy that's going to be extremely valuable. And I think he's shown that so far. I mean, these numbers are pretty incredible. So really excited for him. And really happy that he's crushing baseballs again, playing super well for the Pirates. And I definitely say he's going to be their opening day shortstop and a franchise guy. I mean, they already have a lot of franchise guys locked down here in Brian Reynolds, Brian Hayes, Mitch Keller, all got big extensions. And I think it's possible O'Neal Cruz could be that guy as well in the next coming month or so. If he continues crushing baseballs like this, if he continues playing really, really well. So, definitely someone to watch. And he's always fun to watch when he's at the plate and performing well. After that, we have a surprising one, really. Miguel Andujar of the Oakland A's. Miguel Andujar has 4 home runs in spring, has a 1.237 OPS, has performed really, really well. I mean, this is a guy who was a Rookie of the Year runner-up to Shohei Ohtani. I mean, had a lot of promise coming up. Of course, again, almost won Rookie of the Year, and then kind of faded. There was always questions about his defense, but I think a lot of people were like, okay, we can live with that if he keeps hitting the baseball the way he has, being as good as he has been with third base, and he kind of faded out with hitting as well. I mean, again, he was great in his first year, but after that, he didn't really perform up to standards again. Kind of was up and down in the big leagues, requested a trade from the Yankees a few times, got traded finally to the Pirates and performed well there, signed a minor league contract with the A's, and has done really, really well in spring. I mean, again, you saw the numbers, you saw what he was doing, and I think he's kind of showing himself maybe that he wants to be known as a guy again. I think he's easily going to make their opening day roster right now. I think it's not that hard to make their opening day roster because it's the A's, but at the same time, it's still a great comeback, and I'm really excited to watch it. I think he could definitely become maybe the Brent Rooker of this year. Obviously, Brent Rooker was a guy who kind of floated around from team to team, didn't really have a home, wasn't really that good, and then crushed it with the A's last year and became a big-time trade candidate. Obviously didn't get traded, but I think if he can do what he did last year again, I think he could definitely be a huge trade candidate. But I'm definitely excited for Andujar, and definitely really interested to see where his career goes from this. He's obviously performing really, really well. So definitely super fun storyline to talk about, and something super exciting if you're an A's fan, which doesn't really happen much, considering what your franchise has happened in a few years. So hopefully he can become a big time guy with the A's, or if not, gets traded for some good prospects. So I think that's your real big hope if you're an A's fan. After that, at the top of the OPS leaderboard for spring training, this is also being qualified. So it's my guy Wyatt Langford. I mean, I've talked about this guy so much in the pod. This is probably like my 6th or 7th time. I mean, there's probably more than that, but yeah, this guy's a beast. Drafted top 5 from Florida. Was absolutely incredible with Flem. Got drafted by the Rangers, who then won the World Series. So you're adding a top 5 prospect to a World Series offense. It's pretty incredible. And 124 OPS in, a significant amount of at bats here. 36 at bats, that's a lot. So it's showing he's not a fluke. Fluke, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, almost hitting 400. He's just doing so incredible. I think it's a real chance he makes the opening day roster after being a top 5 pick just in last year's draft. And he's someone to really watch in the season, really see what happens with him. And definitely super excited to watch him now in the future and just how his career progresses. And I think with a lot of injuries to the pitching staff, the Rangers are going to have to rely on their offense a lot more. And I think Wyatt Langford's going to be a guy to take them places that they want to go after last year's incredible run. We're talking about another Oakland A here. Wow, this is the most I've talked about the A's probably the entire time I've had the show. We're talking about Zach Gelof. He has a 1.209 OPS so far with the A's in spring training, 4 home runs, also almost hitting 400. This is a guy that has done really well in a small sample size in his career. Last year was his first year. Had an 841 OPS, 270 at-bats, middle infielder. I think he's trying to become part of that young A's core for however long they are the A's and play in Oakland. I think the A's are just looking for some people to build around right now, and I definitely think Gelof can become one of those guys if he continues playing this way. I mean, again, he's been incredible, and spring training's been no different right now. So, definitely a guy I have my eyes on in Zach Gelof. Done really, really well, and I think he's gonna continue becoming great, and becoming a big part of this A's team. After that, we have Luis Matos of the San Francisco Giants. Another guy that is young, a lot to prove with the Giants. Was a rookie last year. Didn't perform very well. 660 OPS. Was good in center field, but didn't really play all that well with hitting the bat, of course. Obviously, he's doing great in spring training now. I mean, 3 home runs, 113 OPS. 1.113, I should say, sorry. Has really crushed the ball, has really shown a lot with his hitting tool, maybe developing over the offseason. So I think this could be a guy that fights for a starting spot in the Giants outfield. Obviously, it is kind of full there with Jung-Hoo Lee, Mike Yastrzemski, Mark Conforto, Horace Soler manning DH, but I know Conforto's been mentioned in trade rumors, so I don't know if the Giants are too attached to him. So I mean, if Matos can win a job, I don't think that's impossible that he could potentially win the job in the outfield. So I think that's definitely someone to watch if you're a Giants fan, if you're a baseball fan as well. This guy's doing really well in spring training, and trying to show last year, he was just developing, and this year he's kind of developed fully and done really well. After that, we have a guy I've also talked about a lot in this podcast, James Wood. I mean, just a monster of a human being. This guy is 6'6", 234, 21 years old, one of the top prospects in baseball, has been one of the top prospects in baseball for a long time now, was one of the big parts of the original Juan Soto trade from Washington to San Diego. And yeah, it's just been crushing the baseball. 3 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 5 RBIs, 1.106 OPS. Just done really incredible so far, and definitely got to watch and put on your radar if you're a baseball fan with how good he can be in the future. I think this is a guy that has a lot of potential, and is going to be a big part of the Nationals' future, and I think is already showing that with his with the way he's performed this spring training with the Nationals. After that, we have another San Francisco Giants guy here. We have David Villar, a middle infielder. He's 27, so he's on the older side. Never really had a good MLB season, but he's done really well this spring. 30 at-bats, 2 home runs, 1.055 OPS. I mean, that's really solid numbers there. Again, this is a guy that I think could be going for a top bench spot on the Giants roster. Middle infielder, has some versatility a little bit. So, he's done really, really well. And if you're a Giants fan, you should be super excited with that. So another guy I think has gone under the radar, and he's going to fight for a spot. One more guy I wanted to talk about here is Lawrence Butler of the A's, another A's guy. Good for them for finally having some people up there. 33 at-bats. He has no home runs, actually, but he's hitting .424. Has a 1.019 OPS, 1.019 OPS to get it right. He's stolen base. Another guy who's big guy, 6'3", 210. Came up a little bit last year, was not very good, but I think has a lot of tools to be just a great guy with the A's in the future. He's very athletic, has raw talent, raw ability, and another guy you want to look forward to as an A's fan. A guy who, he's done really well this spring, and a guy I think can continue going with that and becoming a really good player. So, definitely a guy I'd look forward to watching, and definitely a guy I would have my eyes on. Those are the guys I want to talk about for top spring training performers so far. It was, a few different guys. That was, those some guys I'd watch in spring training, and I watch what they're doing so far, and really excited for what they have done and what they can do in the future. We're going to go on to our second break of the show here, but before we do that, we're going to talk about our third segment, which is going to be about MLB teams, and I kind of put them into a tier list a little bit. I've done a lot of power rankings, but I wanted to do something more with like groups of teams and just talk about that as a whole, not splitting it into leagues. So this is something that interested me, and we'll talk about it after the break. So thanks.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, and it's going to be about what I talked about before the break here, which is going to be about MLB teams and putting them into tiers a little bit. So I've done some power rankings on here before, but I've never really talked about it with leagues and kind of putting those two together. So yeah, I definitely wanted to do that here. And just talk about teams and what they're grouped in with, So yeah, we have right here 5 tiers. We have elite, we have really good, we have good, we have and we have bad. So yeah, I just want to talk about these teams, why I put them there, and how I think they can get better maybe, and yeah, just about the tier in general. So we're gonna go from worst to best. So worst obviously is bad. I have 4 teams in this category. These are just teams that I think are really bad. I mean, they might be good in the future, but as of right now, they are not good. I think the 4 teams are pretty obvious here. It's going to be the White Sox, the A's, the Nationals, and the Rockies. Now, I think all 4 of these teams are clearly rebuilding. Some of them might have a more clear future than the others. But I think all these teams don't really have redeeming qualities. I think they're all really, really bad. I don't think they are going to be competing whatsoever at all. And I think they're clearly rebuilding. The one team I would kind of single out here is the Nationals. I think the A's, White Sox, and Rockies are just plain old bad. Like, I don't think there's any redeeming qualities about their teams this year. And I don't think there's any chance they're good whatsoever. The Nationals, I kind of don't think that with. I think there's a possibility they could not be that horrible this year. As I talked about before, they have a lot of young talent. I mean, I talked about him last segment with James Wood. You have C.J. Abrams already up there, Mackenzie Gore. You have C.J. Abrams. I just talked about him, sorry. You have Robert Hassel as a guy who can come up as well. You have a lot of good prospects. You have Brady House. You have a lot of good prospects here. Dylan Cruz, you also just drafted. It's going to be a big part. So you have a lot of good prospects here as a Nationals fan. So I wouldn't be too worried about them. I think they're going to be pretty good next year, to be honest with you. Like, I as a fan of a team in that division, I think I would be worrisome about them if they get some pitching, which I think is definitely possible. So, I definitely don't think they're as bad as the other 3 teams, but I didn't think they were at any levels good at all. But I think if they get all their young pieces to come together, they might not be that horrible. So that's why I wanted to single them out there. I still think they're really bad, obviously, as I put them in the bad category. But I don't think they're as bad as the other teams, if that makes sense. I think they're kind of a different kind of bad. I'm also learning I misspelled performers for the last segment, the little thing on screen. So that was my fault. I apologize about that. Not great. Keeping going here with the tier lists. We have what I call the tier. They're just They're okay. Like, they're just fine. We have the Red Sox, we have the Guardians, we have the Angels, the Marlins, the Cardinals, the Pirates, and the Brewers. These are teams I don't think are bad, that they deserve to be in that category, but I don't think they're in the above tier, which is good either. So I kind of put them in this because I think, they're just really mediocre, Like, I think that's just what it is, that's why they're here. All these teams aren't so bad as to where they're blatantly tanking and that there's no chance of them being good, but they're also not good in any way either. That's the thing. Just going the Red Sox, they have no redeeming qualities about them. They're just there. Same with the Guardians. I don't know what's going on with the Guardians. they kind of have pitching but no hitting, and their pitching's getting injured as well, and it's even not that great to begin with. Angels, I don't really know what they are. They have a nice young core to build around, but you lost Ohtani, so that's obviously a huge loss when you lose the best player in baseball, I'd say. Marlins have some pitching, but it's all hurt, and their hitting's not that great either. And the Cardinals, Brewers, and Pirates, yes, there's 3 teams in the NL Central. I wanted to put them together. All these teams, again, aren't bad. It's just I don't think they're that good. I mean, it's 3 teams in one division, which wanted to talk about them together. I mean, the Cardinals have no pitching. I've talked about this so many times, but their hitting core is great. They just have no one to pitch. Pirates, kind of the same thing, but their hitting core isn't to the level of the Cardinals, and their pitching core is pretty bad, though, as well. So I definitely say they're on par with that. It's just they're a young team. They have a lot of younger guys who could potentially come up. So, that's why they're in the A tier. They're not bad, but they're definitely not good. And same with the Brewers. After trading Burns, losing Woodruff for the full year, trading Canna, their team is kind of just mediocre for the first time in a while, and I think they'll be good next year. I think they're building towards something, but I definitely don't think they're good right now, and that they're going to be a contender. The third tier we have here is good. These are teams, again, I think are good, but not great, and are kind of in the mid-tier of the playoffs right now. It's kind of definitely fighting for a spot. We have the Royals, the Tigers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Reds, the Padres, and the Giants. Now, going to the AL teams first before we do a little thing about the NL teams, because there is a lot of them. The Royals and the Tigers here, I thought both, obviously both are AL Central teams. I thought both made pretty good moves this offseason. The Tigers adding a lot to that bullpen, getting Jack Flaherty, getting Mark Canha, I thought were really, really solid moves. But I still don't think they're that good. Sorry, I don't think they're that great. I don't think they're a true contender. But I wanted to give them some credit for trying, for making these moves that I did enjoy. And I think they're good. I think their pitching staff has a lot of young pieces there that are very intriguing. You have, of course, Tarek Skubal. You have Casey Mize, who I'm not sure what his injury timetable looks like. Jack Flaherty, of course, who you signed. So there are a lot of pieces there. But other than that, you have the nice hitting core. I mean, Spencer Torkelson. You have Colt Keith, Andy Ibanez. You have Javier Baez still there somehow. Parker Meadows, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter. So there's a lot of nice young players for the Tigers there. And I think I wanted to give them credit for that, and I don't think they're that bad. So I think they're pretty good. And I'm glad to put them in this tier as being horrible for so long. So good for them, and good for them for trying. Same thing with the Royals, really. They saw they had an opportunity to go for it with some young guys coming up. They hadn't been good in a while, and they wanted their rebuild to be over, so they went for it, signing a lot of good players. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Will Smith, Chris Stratton, Hunter Renfroe. A lot of good guys there. Just solid guys that can help you build around this team. So I'd be really excited if I was a Royals fan for the season, kind of putting it all together. Your obvious face of the franchise isn't Bobby Witt, who you extended. So, definitely a exciting season for Royals fans, which is not something I expected to say a while back. But, definitely good for them. After that, we have NL teams. I've talked about them yesterday a lot with the Dylan Cease segment, because the Padres are here, of course. Which is the Mets, Cubs, Reds, Padres, Giants. All these teams I think are good, but I don't think they're with the tiers of the top 4 teams in the NL, who I think are definite playoff locks. The Royals and I think it's the Cubs and the Cubs and the Reds versus each other to win the NL Central. Whoever wins that will get the 3 seed, and then the other team will fight for the 6 seed with the teams like the Padres, the Giants, the Mets. So, all teams that are good but aren't amazing and aren't playoff locks and are going to be on the edge of the playoffs looking in. So, that's why I wanted to put them in this tier. And that's really it. They're kind of just mediocre. They're good, they're good, but they're not great and they're not bad. So that's why they're in this tier list. It's, again, the same with these 7 teams: the Royals, Tigers, Mets, Cubs, Reds, Padres, Giants. I think the Padres are a little bit ahead of all these teams here after the Cease trade. I did really love it for them. So, take that into consideration as well. But I don't think they're too ahead to kind of be so far in front of everyone else, if you get what I mean. We have the really good tier, which is teams that I think are very, very good, but aren't elite, aren't at the top of the entire league. Which I only have 5 teams there, so it's not too much, not too much teams there anyway. So again, these teams I think are most likely playoff locks, but aren't that great. So first we have the NL teams, which is the obvious Phillies and Diamondbacks. I think these are the most obvious teams of really good teams. I don't think they're up to the level on paper of the Braves and the Dodgers. To be fair, both these teams beat the Braves and the Dodgers, as the Braves and the Dodgers haven't shown in the past that they are really suited for the playoffs. But I think on paper and as regular season teams, which we are talking about, the Phillies and the Diamondbacks are the teams that you should be looking to as really good teams, as not necessarily playoff locks, but just really, really good teams that can win a championship, but aren't on the tier level of an elite team right now. And they're still amazing, still really high in them, but they're not high in the tier. After that, we have for the AL 4 teams. I wanted to go Rays, Blue Jays, Twins, Mariners, Rangers. 5 teams, actually, sorry. Yeah, I think all these teams are really good. The thing is that they all can't make it, obviously, because there's not 5 wildcard spots. You have the 2. You have the 3. So, I think when you look at that, you have, obviously, we know what teams are going to be the elite now. You have AL West, I would say, is a lock to go to the Astros unless something crazy happens. You have the AL Central, whatever team's going to win that, which I think will be the Twins. So they're kind of a lock, I'd say. And then AL East, you have Orioles, Yankees. Then in wild card, you have most likely Orioles/Yankees in the first wild card. And then, you have these 4 teams battling out for 2 spots. You have the Rays, you have the Blue Jays, you have the Mariners, you have the Rangers. And then you have the Royals and Tigers, who I have below that, as teams that could potentially go above them if everything works out. So it's all very interesting to see what happens. I think all these teams are very good, but not up to the elite tier yet because of whatever reason. I was debating putting the Rangers here, but I ended up putting them here just for the benefit of the doubt because they are the World Series champions. I want to show some respect to them. I still think they have a lot of work to do with their pitching staff, but I think their hitting core is just too great for me not to put them in this kind of tier, and the fact they've shown they can win. So that's why I put them there. But everyone else here, again, I still think is a really... Ooh, sorry about that. That was loud. I apologize for that. I think every team here is really good, and I think they're all definitely going to be in the playoff race for a long time and have a really good chance of making it. After that, we have the elite teams, which, you figured out by now. Orioles, Yankees, Astros in the AL, and Braves and Dodgers in the NL. These are teams that I think are absolute playoff locks unless something crazy happens. All teams, I think, are just pretty incredible teams, are going to be championship contenders no matter what, again, unless something absolutely crazy happens. Orioles added Corbin Burns after a 100-win season. Yankees added Juan Soto, even with the Garrett Cole injury and the weird stuff about Aaron Judge, which we'll talk about in the next segment. I still think they're a pretty elite team, and they're pretty great. Astros, of course, it's the Astros. We know this already. Braves and Dodgers, again, same thing. We kind of know this with the additions they've made and what they've been the past few years. So, those are the elite teams in the MLB. Those are all my tier lists for all the teams, in the MLB. Kind of something different that I haven't really done before. Kind of a different style of ranking, but I enjoyed it. It got me to talk about all these teams, not just in separated segments about the league. So, that was really exciting. And super happy about it. So that was my third segment. We're going to go to our fourth and final segment here, which is going to be about what usually we talk about at the end, which is some news around the league. Just some general stories I did want to talk about. And just excited to talk about these, and excited to go to our fourth segment. And but before that, we're going to take a break. So thanks. We'll see you after that. Bye. All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth and final segment of the show today, which is going to be about general news stories around the league. Just some minor stories I want to talk about. Some stuff I thought was interesting and notable to mention around the league. So let's get into it. The first one we have here is the Pirates. We don't really talk about the Pirates much, so it's nice to get them on the board here. According to some reports, they are showing some interest in Tommy Pham, the free agent outfielder. We knew about Pham having interest from some other teams like the Padres and the Diamondbacks, of course, who he was with last year. But we haven't really heard the Pirates. So this is something interesting to see. I think this makes some sense though if you're the Pirates. You have some good outfielder depth. You have guys like Jack Sawinski, Connor Joe, Joshua Palacios, Ryan Reynolds, of course, who's going to be in center field, Andrew McCutchen, but he's probably more of a DH type role. And I think if you're the Pirates trying to compete, I think signing a guy who's like a win-now player like Tommy Pham makes a lot of sense. I think is a good fit as well. Obviously, Pham was really good with the Mets, and the Diamondbacks last year kind of had a bounce-back season after a few years, kind of not doing the best, and his reputation being a little bit tarnished because of some out-the-field incidents. I mean, I think we know which one I'm talking about. Might involve a certain left-handed outfielder on the Giants in fantasy football, if you know what I mean. But, definitely would be a good fit, in my opinion, with the Pirates and Pham. I think he'd bring a lot of edge to that young team, bring a lot of leadership in the clubhouse as well, a guy who knows how to win. I mean, he made the World Series last year, so I definitely think he knows what he's talking about. And after that, I think it will be a good baseball fit. I think it will bring some more legitimacy to that lineup, some more depth to that outfield, which I think you could desperately need. I don't think Pirates need Tommy Pham, but I definitely think it's a good fit, and I definitely think it makes sense they are showing interest in him. And I think it would be a good fit if it were to happen. Danny Jansen is going to miss a couple of weeks with a fracture in his wrist. Some reports came out about that. Obviously, Jansen is the top backup for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have had a lot of great catching talent over the past few years. That's what prompted them to trade Gabriel Moreno to the Diamondbacks, who obviously became a postseason hero with them, hitting 3 home runs against Lance Lynn in one at-bat, and obviously being one of the big reasons they went to the World Series and is going to be a big part of their future. You have Alejandro Kirk being the main starter, but Jansen also splits a lot of time with him. You always have to have 2 pretty good catchers in baseball because catchers have so much stress on their knees and, are kind of always tired and need a lot of days off. I don't think if you're a catcher you can play more than 3 days straight. So it makes sense to always have two good catchers, and Danny Jansen has always been very valuable in that role for the Blue Jays. I think he definitely could be a starting catcher for our team, and the fact that the Blue Jays have him as their backup is really good. But obviously he's going to be out for a few weeks. We're not sure when he'll be back in regards to his schedule because this is spring training. We're not sure, what's going to happen with his timeline going into the regular season. But even so, they have some depth behind him. Former Rockies catcher Brian Serven is there as a fine backup. So it's not a huge deal, again, because you have that depth at catcher if you are the Blue Jays. So not a huge deal here, but still something notable I want to talk about because Jansen's a good player and he got hurt for a little bit. And it's definitely not a positive for the Blue Jays, but not the end of the world, I'd say, either anyways. The Reds, they signed Justin Wilson to a minor league contract. Justin Wilson was a guy we talked about a few times now. Obviously opted out of his contract with the Dodgers. Was a minor league contract. He's a fine lefty reliever, a fine veteran guy. Has had some good seasons in the past with the Mets. Was okay with the Yankees, from other teams as well in his past. Definitely a nice, valuable depth piece by the Reds here. They've added some nice pieces to their bullpen this offseason. Specifically a guy, I think Brent Suter was a really nice pickup for them. And again, I've said it a few times, but you can never have enough left-handed depth for your relievers. Loogies, which is left-handed only guys out of the bullpen, are kind of extinct nowadays. But I think bringing in other kind of lefty relievers for depth is always a good decision. And I think for a young team like this, bringing in Justin Wilson's a good idea for the Reds, and is a good depth move overall. The Cardinals are extending manager Oliver Marmol to the 2026 season. His contract was set to expire this year, and they obviously like what he was doing there, so they extended him. This one's a little perplexing to me, but I don't think it's too crazy. I don't think he's a bad manager, but I don't think he's too extraordinary anyways. To be fair, they haven't really given him a full chance. I mean, both the years he's been there, the pitching was pretty bad. I mean, the first year they made the playoffs, yes, but they got embarrassed. So it's not like he's dealt the greatest hand. And last year their pitching was awful as well. This year their pitching's pretty bad as well. So again, not really his fault, but still, I don't know if he was that outstanding as a manager. But again, it's not a huge deal. Their manager before him as well, Mike Schote, wasn't that great as well, but he's the new manager of the Padres now, and Marmol's replacing him. He's kind of done some questionable things for the team as well, with moving Wilson Contreras off catcher a few months after signing. I'm not entirely sure if that was his full decision or the Cardinals' FO wanted to do it, but still didn't go well in the clubhouse. But I don't think Marmol's a horrible manager. And I guess they want to see more of him. I guess they're saying, okay, 2 years isn't really enough, so we want to see what you can do long term. And obviously, they're not using him as a scapegoat for last season's disappointment, which is good, because it definitely wasn't his fault. I think it was a full organizational thing. So not a horrible move by the Cardinals, but I think it's a lot of better managers than Ollie Marmol out there. But he's not that bad, so it's a fine move by the Cardinals in my opinion. The Rays are signing Jake Odorizzi to a minor league contract. Odorizzi, of course, was a free agent starting pitcher on the market. Started his career off with the Rays, was fine there, got a few contracts from other teams, but is returning there. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I think it's a good way to get more pitching depth. He's a fine veteran pitcher, a guy who knows what he's doing out there. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Isn't that great anymore, but again, I think it's just a valuable piece of depth for the Rays right now. As a veteran guy, we have a lot of young guys you're counting on, like Taj Bradley, like Ryan Pepio, and I think this is a good veteran signing here. With the injuries you've had, again, you're going to be relying on a lot of young guys. So I think signing a veteran guy like Odorizzi you can rely on is a good decision. And definitely a fan of the signing for the Rays. It's not a huge deal, but I thought it was notable, and I did like it. Announced, actually, as I was on stream here, so I want to talk about it, is that Nestor Cortez will be the Yankees' opening day starter. We knew that Garrett Cole was out of the mix because obviously he's injured, We knew that they offered the role to Marcus Stroman. He said no because he didn't want to mess up his pitching schedule. I made a short about that, so if you want to check that out, go on the channel and go to shorts, and I'm sure you'll find it there. Not a crazy idea for the Yankees to start Cortez. I'm surprised they didn't consider Rodon, but I kind of guess that's how much his stock has fallen since last year, and they don't want to risk taking him out of his rhythm. But I think Nestor's a fine pick. You don't really have anyone else here, so good job by the Yankees getting Cortez to be their guy, and a good move. He's not a bad player, so definitely could add worse options. Aaron Judge, there's been some rumors. There's a lot of news around him, so that's what I want to talk about here. So he wasn't on the batting cage list today. And that it was announced by Boone that if he wasn't, he would be playing today, and obviously he isn't. So news came out that he probably will not play tomorrow, and he still has a chance for opening day, but he's dealing with some general soreness in his body, I'd say right now, which isn't that crazy. It's spring training. General soreness makes some sense. So it's not a huge deal for the Yankees, but it's just not something you want right now, especially with the Cole injury. It's kind of just a lot of injury news after injury news. So I definitely want Aaron Judge to be okay, of course. So definitely not great news for the Yankees, but it could have been worse. And he seems to be fine right now. And I think if it was a really bad thing and bad news, I think there would be a lot more about it. So definitely something to watch and talk about if you're a Yankees fan, and see what goes on with Judge in the future. After that, we have the Astros. They have been rumored in some rumors, ironically, about Blake Snell, which is interesting. Chandler Rome, who's one of the best Astros writers there is, talked about how he thinks Blake Snell could be a fit for the Astros. And Ken Rosenthal kind of seconded that. It's not really like source information that they're going hard after Blake Snell, but I think it could be a possibility, Blake Snell and the Astros, on a short-term deal especially. We've seen them already this year sign a free agent out of nowhere in Josh Hader, so they could do it twice. They've had a lot of pitching injuries, and I think getting Snell would help that a lot on a short-term deal as well. I think that would be great. Snell could sacrifice some money to show that last year wasn't a fluke and finally get his big contract next year. Astros get more pitching depth, and Snell gets to try to compete for a ring as well. So I think it could be a match made in heaven, honestly. And I think if Snell wants to sign quick, I think he might have to take some short-term offers, and I think the Astros are definitely a team that make a lot of sense here. And I would definitely be interested in seeing what happens there if they do end up signing Blake Snell. I think it's a pretty great baseball fit, and I would be really, really interested to see if that happens. And I think that would be something really exciting to talk about. So, that's the end of the show here today, guys. That was my final segment 4. I want to thank you so much for watching. Follow us wherever you can get content on us. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, donate as well, do anything you can to support us. It would really mean a lot. So thank you so much for that, guys. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on Monday, and we'll see what happens then. We'll see what there's to talk about. So thanks, and see you later. Bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't want